What's good, y'all? It's your boy Phantoms. We're back at it again. We're going to react to the Epstein cover up, what's going on right now. Like, I don't know if you've been sticking with the news, but a lot has been going on with the fallout of the Epstein files with Trump. First, he said on a campaign promise, like he said with the JFK MLK files, yeah, I'll release it. But the weird thing about it, though, was he elaborated more on releasing the Epstein files, which is kind of weird back then, but now everything's starting to come kind of full circle. And I feel like we're kind of like almost at the halfway point where things were building up and then things are just going to drop like a hammer. Um, with that being said, his base is even upset with them. They're trying to sweep it under the rug. There's no Epstein files, but they were on the desk. Now they're made by Obama. They exist. And now he has the FBI making a spreadsheet uh, just listing every time his name is listed in the files. There was even a phone interview that he had with some news station a day or two ago, sometime this week, and he admitted so many words that he's in the files. So he didn't know the guy. They were best friends for 10, 15 years. It's just I know that there's a certain subgroup of people who will just blindly follow him. Whatever. But if people talk about the deep state, this is literally the deep state. This is literally the definition of deep state cover up stuff. So, like, I understand why Republicans would be mad. I understand why Democrats would be mad. But most importantly, I understand why people would be upset. Citizens would be upset. So we go check out what my dude Upper Echelon is saying. I've been following this guy for a while. I like his content enough. I've been doing the spring cleaning, getting rid of a lot of people, but he's one of the people who stuck around. I hope everybody's having a good start to the week. Like, comment, subscribe, and I want to know your opinion on it too, because I'm sure everybody has an opinion on this. Everybody has to have an opinion on this. Like, this is not right. Uh, let's start it up. Now I got my Tropicana,
This
or
video is brought to
Gamma.
you by Incogni. Stick around to hear more about the special
Yeah,
offer they're providing to the entire
it's
upper
really good.
echelon community. Where do you even begin when talking about Epstein? Do you start at the beginning, when he got a job at the prestigious New York Dalton School despite having zero qualifications? Does it matter that the headmaster responsible for hiring him was Donald Barr, father of William Barr, who was the subsequent Attorney General of the United States of America for the Trump administration in its first
That's kind of funny. Just what I was saying, full circle stuff. That's a full circle moment right there.
term? Would people care that he walked around the school wearing fur coats and gold chains, flirting with young girls like a stereotypical pimp? Or is the collective attention span of society now so short that people have all but forgotten? It's a rhetorical question, to be quite frank, because the story of Jeffrey Epstein is the story of money, power, politics, and drama, which are collectively the most addictive concepts in human history. A little over a week ago, I made a video called The Epstein Disaster of 2025, which reviewed a troubling situation where the United States government, namely the current administration of Donald Trump, appeared to be mishandling the Epstein file publication.
They're handling it terribly. Like, I give Donald Trump like a C plus, and I give his administration like a F. Like, every time he opens his mouth, it gets worse. It literally gets worse. This is going to be studied by businesses and a lot of entities on what not to do during a PR moment.
Or lack thereof. The focus of that video, which I'll link down below obviously, was inconsistency. High ranking officials like the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, or Deputy Director Dan Bongino signaling before their implementation to these roles that the Epstein story was a top priority. Statements by Attorney General Pam Bondi about how the Epstein list was physically on her desk, with a highly publicized Phase 1
See, so
release.
she says it's physically on her desk, but then she later came out and said that she met the paperwork, like the case files. What a spin, right? Come on, anybody with a brain would do an eye roll.
Occurring right in front of the White House, actually. Jokes made on podcasts by Vice President J.D. Vance saying, quote, "We need to release the Epstein list," or even more importantly, Trump's own explicit statements that if elected, he would release the
We
list
will
of
release
clients
it.
and all surrounding files
So,
on Jeffrey Epstein.
so that's what I mean. Like, it's not like a Democratic or Republican thing. when he says that he's taking the helm, like, hey, I'm going to be the one to do this. It hasn't got done, and it hasn't got done yet because, right, it hasn't got done yet. I'm going to be the one to release this. Um, so when people come and fall back and they're like, oh, why didn't Biden do it? Well, Jeffrey Epstein got arrested, charged, and trialed and suicided under the Trump administration. I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna just say that. Like, it could have came out then. Why did it not? You know. But he campaigned on it, and that's what within context of that, we want to hear from him. You said that you were going to do that. We want to see what it's about. The people in general, people. It doesn't matter who you are. That's the one thing that's different from everything else that he's done that people didn't agree with. When and not even people, a subset of people didn't agree with, because not there was also a group of people who were cool with it. But with this, the vast majority, it doesn't matter left or right leaning, you care about this and you want to see these people get put away. These are really bad crimes. It was like over 200, 250 people that Pam Bondi said. Bodie, whatever her name is. Like, she, oh gosh. Like, talk about career ending stuff.
Except, spoiler alert, that didn't happen. Instead of declassified files, bombshell revelations, or justice of any kind, we got a cover up, a massive one. And as that cover up continues to implode, I want to take some time here and showcase a bird's eye view of who, what, when, where, and why. Let's get to it. The story of Jeffrey Epstein on the most basic level is widely known. Private island, private plane, powerful friends, and horrible crimes. But far less scrutinized, at least by a certain demographic of people until recently, was his
Yeah.
relationship with Donald Trump.
Like, and he says he has no relationship with him. There's a photo of him right here.
It turns out Epstein and Trump go way back as friends.
I mean,
They've
come
been
on.
filmed
He
together
has
at
his hand on his
parties. There's
shoulder.
audio of Epstein claiming to be Trump's, quote, closest friend for 10 years. Trump himself has said, I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy. And much more recently, as per exclusive reporting from the Wall Street Journal, a supposed birthday letter has been revealed in which Trump and Epstein correspond together, with Trump allegedly saying, quote, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Later adding,
This is crazy. The only thing the thing I'm gonna say to this is at this point, in the next coming weeks, or if it happens in the discovery because Trump sued the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch, that this letter has to come out in the physical sense. Like, there's going to be a photo of it. We need to see that because if there's a photo of it, it has a signature and it looks similar to uh, the writings and stuff that he did before. And best believe I'm gonna send that up with AI to compare, so AI can even tell me, hey, does this seem similar? The AI tells me, man, this what I already feel. This dude's in the files, man. Yes, he wrote this letter, man. Yes, a lot of people are saying, oh, this isn't common with how Donald writes or whatever. This wasn't now. This was back in the day. A lot can change over that time, especially with him being old. He's like 70 in the 70s, late 70s. So
a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret.
that's
End quote.
wild.
I think it's worth
That's
mentioning that
wild.
Trump is now already threatening to sue the Wall Street Journal for publishing that
He
story,
al-
calling it a
so he already did. He already did.
disgusting and filthy rag. Obviously unfamiliar with the Streisand effect. But the horribly unpleasant reality we are all faced with is that Jeffrey Epstein was integrated at every conceivable level in the most powerful circles on Earth with a spiderweb of connections that are completely impossible to ignore. Online browsing is now basically ubiquitously associated with the concept of data harvesting, where the websites you visit and the services you use harvest insane amounts of information about you and then sell it for profit. Practically every single technology company in the world does this now, and you can't really stop them. However, one thing that you can do is sponsoring the channel. Okay, time for the info dump. In 2002, speaking to New York Magazine, Donald Trump, referring to Jeffrey Epstein, said, quote, he's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life, end quote.
He said that, but then in this nowadays he says, "I never knew the guy." He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life. Dude, he's saying it without really saying it. The only word that he's missing from here are is, and many of them are on the younger side. The only thing he's missing from that is, and many of them are on the really younger side. That you could just add really between the and younger, and then this that'll give it away, like in plainly. But come on,
But then,
come
two
on.
short years later, in 2004, the pair had a falling out with one another owing to a real estate deal. The gist of it is that they were each trying to purchase a particular mansion called Maison de l'Amitié, which ironically means a house of friendship
That's a nice
in
house.
French, during which they aggressively
House of friendship. It's so funny. It's even things that shouldn't even be like, ha. See, this is what it is. House of. I'm not gonna get into super conspiracy with that, but it's so ironic. It's so ironic to me. The house of friendship that their best friends are fighting over.
outbid each other and undercut their competitor deliberately. Trustee on the case, Joseph Lazinski, recalls the two saying things like, quote, "You don't want to do deals with him. He doesn't have the money," end quote. Donald Trump eventually came out ahead in that competition, paying over $41 million for the property, but the damage seemed to be done, and the two would never really appear to be close again after that. Donald Trump would later go on to sell the mansion, just 4 years later, to a Russian billionaire named Dmitry Rybolovlev through a shell company called Country Road Property LLC, which is a whole separate thing that I have a multitude of questions about. But the main point is that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein appear to have ended their long standing and close friendship over real estate in 2004. So, why does it matter? Well, it matters because shortly after this, in 2005, Jeffrey Epstein faced his first round of criminal trafficking and conspiracy charges in
Okay.
the Southern District of New York. This is hypercritical because that first round of charges, including the specific allegation that the girls were being trafficked to other powerful individuals, not just Epstein, with over 30 victimized young girls already in 2005, ended with what can really only be described as a sweetheart plea deal. Under the supervision of Alex Acosta, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida at the time, Epstein was allowed to plead out of federal court, gaining immunity for himself and his co conspirators,
I think that's illegal. That sounds illegal, but
then serving just
it's
13
we'll
months in
see.
county jail,
That
which
sounds
is
a little
nothing
illegal.
compared to what it would have been at a federal level.
That sounds a little
Except
illegal.
the real icing on the cake is that when the House of Cards came finally tumbling down all around him, all the way in 2020, it was found that this sweetheart plea deal was illegal.
Oh,
Alex Acosta broke the law in favor of Jeffrey Epstein.
oh,
Want
so
to know
it was illegal. It was illegal.
the kicker? Alex Acosta, after this deal took place, well after it, was appointed as Secretary of Labor in the first term of
And he did something illegal and he got a promotion for it. I'm telling y'all, there's a whole different part of America that people don't know about and they don't live in. Where laws, I feel like laws don't matter as much. I just feel like laws don't matter as much. It's just you do this for me and I get you up higher up the ladder. And that's just how things work once you get to a certain level. It starts to feel because it's like if this was anybody with the right mind would not let this happen, but there's people in power who say otherwise. That's my only assumption from all of this.
President Trump. Oh, and when speaking about the Epstein case before selection, according to the Daily Beast, he said, quote, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone," end quote. Let's just get this part fully straight. The guy who cut Epstein loose, effectively, deliberately under prosecuting him and his co conspirators and shielding everyone involved from federal charges, broke the law when he did that,
That's
and then
crazy.
claimed that Epstein was an intelligence asset publicly, after which he gets an appointed position in the first Trump administration. That's kind of strange, isn't it? Rhetorical, again, because yes, it is, but we're not even remotely close to being done. In 2007, although the documents were never made public until much, much later, a woman named Virginia Guffrey was approached by law enforcement, both American and Australian, after being identified as one of Epstein's victims. Guffrey would go on to be the tip of the spear, basically, when it came to the
Guthrie told the Miami Herald that she received a series of phone calls in rapid succession over 3 days in '07. The first calls was from Maxwell. Then one day later came a call from Epson, both of whom asked if she had spoken to authorities, followed by a third call from an FBI agent who stated that Guthrie had been identified as a victim during the first criminal case against Epstein. She re- resisted speaking and left to the FBI until she was approached again about the matter in person, this time by the Australian Federal Police 6 months after being contacted by phone. In 2006, a year before Guthrie was first contacted by authorities, the Palm Beach Police Department have had a growing body of evidence against Epstein and signed a probable cause affidavit charging him with multiple counts of unlawful sex acts with a minor.
Fall of Epstein, and her bravery should be forever recognized, I think. But there's a key factor here in how she came to be abused in the first place that honestly can't be overlooked. Virginia Guthrie was recruited and groomed by Ghislaine Maxwell at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. 16 at the time, she was working there as a spa attendant, only to get swept up in the horrifying world of Epstein and become the victim of many powerful men. Speaking with the BBC in 2019, she said, quote, I couldn't comprehend how in the highest levels in the government, powerful people were allowing this to happen. Not only allowing it to happen, but participating in it, end quote. Once again reaffirming, just like the original indictment from 2005 all the way back then, that Epstein was running a full-scale operation which catered to the rich and powerful. Flash forward to 2016 and we get this right here. Jane Doe versus Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Jane Doe is actually a woman named Katie Johnson, and I won't be quoting this document at all because the contents are incredible.
Yeah, the Katie Johnson, the relation to Donald Trump and Epstein is crazy. It's crazy. I think she was like 14 years old when they was messing with her. It's crazy.
Graphic, but this
Oh,
previous
minor age of
lawsuit
13.
alleges horrible, horrible things against Donald Trump. The interesting part, however, is that the case was dropped and refiled multiple separate times, adding more and more witnesses in between those filings. But I do want to make it clear that eventually the case was withdrawn voluntarily. However, I also think it should be made clear that this came following significant threats against Katie Johnson, which caused her to abruptly retract from the public eye as much as she could, and may have contributed to why the case ultimately
I
disappeared.
bet because it's a
Trump's
lot of
legal team
powerful
adamantly
people.
maintains to this day that nothing said in the lawsuit was ever true, and that the entire thing was a complete fabrication. Still, the spiderweb of connections, inconsistencies, and troubling coincidences only ever gets bigger when it comes to Epstein. July 2019, that's when shit really hits the fan. Finally, 14 years overdue, in fact, federal charges collide with Jeffrey Epstein, and the fallout begins immediately.
Imagine if this was taken seriously when it should have been taken seriously. Perhaps Donald Trump would have never been president. Arguably, if he was involved during that time, right? People would be like, "Oh, hecky no! We remember what you did. You did it with them kids, bro. You the diddler. You was the diddler for the diddler." But at the same time, Diddy was doing his thing. But I digress. I just wonder if things were actually people were actually taken accountable, no matter who you were. You could be wealthy, rich, a millionaire, billionaire, 10,000aire, hundredaire, ten one in the air. You know, it shouldn't matter. You're held accountable. Like you should be held accountable. I think that's as fair as it gets.
Alex Acosta, the one who cut him the initial illegal plea deal, is quickly forced to resign in shame. The
As he
power in
should.
political circles around the world begin turning their heads. But 1 month later, he's dead, and the number of questions surrounding how are immeasurable. Frankly, I couldn't possibly fit every single discrepancy or contradiction in a single YouTube video. The amount of things wrong on this honestly can't be explained. They just can't. But here's some bullet points. The initial Office of the Inspector General report openly states that right before Epstein died, as in a matter of hours, he was given an unmonitored phone call for 20 minutes with his mother. Except his mother had been dead for 15 years. Yeah, right before his death, Jeffrey
How talk about oversight. Like I nobody caught that. Nobody caught that.
Epstein had a protocol.
Not even the FBI. That's what I'm saying. This is a cover up. It's a cover up. Because why would the FBI know have it's a cover up. The FBI knew. I feel like they knew because why to me they're so smart and intelligent and such a prestigious institution that should be held with respect. They knew, but they were under the influence.
Breaking 20-minute secret conversation with someone in Belarus after telling the guards it was his mom. Want the video footage? No, accidentally deleted because of a technical problem. Guards monitoring prisoners? Should we expect that? No. They fell
Not only guarding prisoners, but guarding the most prolific one.
asleep, then falsified reports to make it seem like someone had been checking on him, and he was on suicide watch and left alone, and his cellmate was transferred out, and a whole huge number of things. And with numerous other conflicts all over the place, errors and violations, unimaginable amounts, the idea that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself became widely disputed. In the aftermath, Wired magazine published data on the cell phones that had visited the island, hundreds of them, extensive amounts of data actually, indicating that with proper resources, this type of high level operation could absolutely be investigated further, right? Like easily. Another of Epstein's victims came forward, speaking to CBS News this time, and claimed that his properties had extensive video surveillance inside them, including pinhole cameras in practically every room. Quote, the main thing he did when I walked in, and I thought was interesting, he showed me where the cameras, the men monitoring everything, were. So if you're facing the house, there's a window on the right that's barred. That's the media room, is what he called it. And so there was a door that looked like an invisible door with all this limestone and everything, and you push it and you go in. And I saw all the cameras. It was like old televisions, basically, like stacked. They were monitors inside this cabinet, and there were men sitting there. And I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, toilet, bed, bed, toilet, bed. I'm like, I am never going to use the restroom here and I'm never going to sleep here. You know what I mean? It was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments.
She believes that there are tapes. The question is who has them. Bro, bro, come on. We need to know about we release the files, bruh. This is probably if I were to go on Google and search top 10 Google searches, I bet you Epstein's on that list. I bet you he is. I bet you without even pulling it up right now. I bet you at this moment. Let me I'm about to look it up right now. About to look it up right now. Let's see if I can find it. I just here we go. Top 100 Google searches, but we're just gonna look at. There's no way. I don't know. I can't find it. I know it's on Google Trends. Like you just go on Google Trends. Top 100 Google search results in what is it? July? It's July, so let's see. Top 100 July. Okay, I don't believe this. Fox News is on there. YouTube is on there. So people on YouTube. And it says it was likely made by ChatGPT with some blacklinko.com crap. I don't know why it's so hard. I just top 100 Google searches I hit. Okay, well, if somebody could post it, post it. I don't know why it's that hard. It should just be one click away, especially since I'm using Google. But I'm pretty sure it's up there on search results. I mean, if I go on YouTube, as soon as I type in the word the letter E, Epstein comes up at the first result with his photo to the right. So I don't know about this. But if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. For real, let me know in the comments.
End quote. Combining the previous charges from 2005, combining the accusations with witness testimony, like we just discussed, and considering the fact that Epstein owned his own private island, multiple other properties as well, with his own private plane flying between them, where hundreds of the world's most powerful businessmen, politicians, and celebrities would frequently go, it became abundantly obvious to the entire world that the corruption didn't stop with Epstein. It went deeper than that. Well,
Definitely.
that's not what they're telling you to believe now. As of July 2025, a joint Department of Justice FBI memo was released stating that the case was closed and there was nothing more to see. But in the background, this is probably a
It
crass.
says they uncovered over 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, but there's nothing there. Dude, get out of here. Get out of here.
But in the
Get out of
background,
here. We knew there was
this
something
is
there before you released this right here, bruh.
probably a crass
Come
way to
on,
put it,
man.
but the levees broke. Trump's voter base are not buying it, not in the slightest, which only infuriates him further, obviously, and his critics have open season on demanding disclosure for a bipartisan issue of obvious corruption, to which, it seems, he is now the only barrier. Here's
This
an
is a
example of
cover
what I'm
up.
talking about, okay?
This is a
Author Michael Wolff.
this is a cover up. This is the definition of the deep state. This is the definition of a cover up. This is the definition of watch me disappear. Voila. You still see me? Oh shit. That's literally what it, no you don't. No you don't. You don't see me. Look over there. Stop looking over here. Look over there. Now you don't see me. That's literally what he's trying to do. Come on, man. Come on, man. We got AI. We got Google. We got search. It's 2025. If people want to know information, they can go and make one click and figure it out, bruh. Like seriously, it's crazy. You can't hide
Wolff, who
this. It's
previously
been
published
building up.
multiple books highly critical of the Trump
He's about to have
administration,
his full
has
circle
now
moment.
claimed to the Daily Beast in an article titled Trump Held Talks on Pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, quote, they did everything together, and this is from sharing, pursuing women, hunting women, sharing at least one girlfriend for at least a year, and this kind of rich guy relationship with each other's planes, end quote. And this
Look at this. He added, I dare say they kind of loved each other. These were brothers in arms for a long time. Their friendship reportedly unraveled in 2004, however, during a bidding war for a Palm Beach waterfront mansion, which is another article which we can cross source with the one that Upper Echelon was talking about earlier in the article in the video. So it wasn't just that one person who was talking about this, it was multiple people. We know this. You can't say you don't know this
type of claim in a vacuum
if you are
would be
involved
fairly
within
easy to
context on
ignore.
this whole
But
case
none of
and
this is
everything.
happening in a vacuum, right? A disgruntled author or a critical author or somebody who is an enemy of the current administration saying something like this by itself off in the distance, that really wouldn't matter. But let's focus on the word planes. Look at this post. This is Donald Trump, Truth Social 2024. Quote, this is what the Democrats do to their Republican opponent who is leading them by a lot in the polls. This is AI, and it is very dangerous for our country. Also, I was never on Epstein's plane or
He
at his
was
stupid
though.
island. Strong
He
laws.
was on there like several times. It's just like, dude, America's living two realities. There's a certain group who are living by reality, like the real reality. I mean, there's a real reality. There's a real reality, and then there's people who are living by a reality that he is writing as if he's a narrator to a story.
Ought to be developed against AI. It will be a big and very dangerous
And
problem.
it's funny because this is AI and it's very dangerous for our country. But you just posted today an AI video of Barack Obama getting arrested in the Oval Office, and that was okay to post. You, that's and nobody can make the connection. Like he's for himself. Like
Problem in the future. End quote. Just read that again. I was never on Epstein's plane. That is a
Democrat, Republican, I don't care who you is. We all know he was on that plane. We know this because if you've been following this case, you know that there's files showing that he was on that plane. Now, does that say that he was diddling? No. But this is just showing that he's trying to completely distance himself from this. But he, in this, when he tries to do that, he's bringing himself even closer to it than it already was. It's just like eye roll after eye roll. Like can somebody at this point with power do something?
Lie. As part of Maxwell versus the United States, Ghislaine
Come on,
Maxwell
man.
being the woman that Trump allegedly
It's just
considered
silly.
pardoning, according to the author Michael Wolff, and Epstein's co conspirator
Oh,
who
I
helped
dropped my phone.
traffic young women. As part of her trial, we actually got to
Look at this.
see
This
the
was
flight
as
logs.
recent as like 2021, 2020. So it's like,
There's a lot of stuff that got released already, but tucked away inside the documents, we can see that Donald Trump flew on Epstein's plane 7 separate times across the span of just a couple years. One such flight
and I know that because he's not the only person who said several times. That's what I'm saying, man. Like,
was literally
we know
only
this.
him
It's
and
widely
Epstein,
known.
no one else. And yet he is lying to the world with claims that he never flew on the plane. Just a couple of years ago, practically everyone in his current administration, director of the FBI, attorney general, counselor to the president, the vice president, and his own sons, were vocally demanding the release of the Epstein files promptly. But now, suddenly, they want you all to stop talking about it. As part of this cover up, which is really the only accurate word to describe it now, the administration
This is literally V for Vendetta.
released almost 11 hours of jail footage, but the footage doesn't match the initial OIG report. A Wired investigation first discovered that the footage had been altered using Adobe Premiere Pro editing footage, and then discovered that it wasn't just 1 minute that was missing, it was 3 minutes that were cut out.
In any society with a conscious mind, would be arrested or investigated right now.
The claim was that they had given us raw surveillance footage, but when you feed something into an editing program, cut 3 minutes out of it, and then badly stitch it back together, that's not raw footage. That's a cover up. Want more? Okay, that's easy. Turns out that right about the same time that they launched this sort of ridiculous denial campaign, the State Department was also dismantling the team that combats human trafficking. And sure, that's a pre planned initiative on its own timeline. But what about this? What do you call it when the president, who was close friends with the convicted trafficker and then lied about flying on his plane, fires the prosecutor of Ghislaine Maxwell's case, right as the world starts thinking, wait a second, you're definitely lying to us about Epstein? They abruptly fire the prosecutor who helped convict the co-conspirator. It really honestly never ends.
They're covering it up. It's a cover up. This is never going anywhere. People are not gonna let this go. It's a cover up.
Sitting in the White House during a cabinet meeting, Trump steps in when Pam Bondi was asked about the Epstein situation, and he says, "Do you even want to answer that?" calling it a waste of time, and then proceeded to talk about what kind of gold paint to use on the molding in the room. Speaking to the press, Trump now claims that the Epstein files were, quote, made up by Comey, Obama, and Biden, even though his second arrest and subsequent death happened during and under Trump's first presidential administration.
How many times am I gonna pause and do this to y'all? How many times am I gonna have to pause and do this to y'all? This is a full circle moment.
Listen to this one, because there's a lot of them, okay? Like, he's not shutting up about it. And then we're going to talk about yet.
I'm back. I'm sorry about that little delay, but we back.
Another connection. Here it is.
I know you've urged people to move on,
Sorry
but I'm
about that,
curious,
please.
why do you think
Hold on
your
real quick,
supporters in particular?
I'm getting a phone call from my business phone. Scam likely. It says scam likely. I don't know if you see it. Scam likely. That's my business phone. Anyway, we back to the business.
Have been so interested in the
real
Epstein
business.
story and so upset about how it's been handled. Why
I
do you
don't
think that is?
understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time, but I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't...
How is it boring? It's one of the most prolific pedophiles who had a literal island where he called the Loyalita, which means something about young girls, where he used to break their backs at with the most wealthiest of people around the world, not just America, not just Jamaica, not just Africa, not just Europe, the world. How's this boring? When you guys know who was in those files, you have them. Release them.
Don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
So
Why is that funny? That's so corny, man. Come on, man. It's about human decency. It's not about Democrat, Republican political stuff, man. Trump is not a victim.
first of all,
He's not a
power,
victim.
politics, money, crime, and sex. The richest and most powerful people on the planet wrapped up in all of those things simultaneously, and Trump calls it boring. That's a choice. But this guy
That
right
is a
here,
choice.
laughing as he says it, that's Howard Lutnick. He used to be Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor. See, the cover up doesn't work if you do it so badly that the entire world can see clearly. But for a political movement that operates on the principle of blind loyalty, having people ask questions of you rather than your opponents only is frightening. Look at this. This is a Truth Social post from Donald Trump, which has now been deleted, by the way, which reads, quote, "The radical left Democrats have hit
deleted
pay
it.
dirt again."
He deleted it. But, dude, people take photos. You. Come on. It's the internet.
And
It's
further
the.
down,
you
their
can-
new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. And then lastly, quote again, "I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history, and all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems, is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let the weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore." End quote. That is a meltdown. It's a meltdown because practically his entire administration, even his family, advocated for and promised something which, for some unknown reason, he now doesn't want to show us.
Yeah, it's like even your family, your son, your. I don't understand. Like, you guys talked about all this, and now you don't want to talk about it no more. Is it, is it because you're implicated? Like, what is it? Like, at the end of the day, even I can say what I want to say to a certain degree. Do I believe he's in it? I do. Do I know to the extensiveness of it? No, I do not. But from what I've heard and things, Donald Trump he was never it for real. And I don't even mean that, like, I don't even consider myself a Democrat or Republican at all. Like, I consider myself as somebody who just goes to the truth and goes to what's right. And this just isn't right, man. This just isn't right, and it's so sad that it now took this long to come out, and now people are just now realizing it. But you cannot attack those people. You have to give them more information. Let them know, like, hey, you are welcomed. We are gonna let you know, like, hey, this is what we were trying to tell you guys, but we're gonna give you more information. And at the end of the day, no matter what, you make your own decision on it. But anybody with a conscious mind would know.
We've cycled through multiple separate tactics in record time. First, release the files. We demand you release the files, but that pretty quickly became some sort of bogus PR stunt ploy. We're
Yeah.
releasing the files, but it's actually less than was publicly available for a decade. When that failed, suddenly the files don't exist. There's nothing to pursue. The case is closed. Stop caring about this. And finally, when people refuse to stop caring, okay, fine. There's files, but the Democrats made them up. It's a hoax. You're an idiot if you fall for it, and I don't want your support. That's where we're at currently. We want this thing, never mind. That thing doesn't exist.
It's just if that's not the definition of a cover up, I don't know what is. I'm sorry.
Fine, yes, it does exist.
I
It's a
don't know what it
hoax.
is.
The 5 stages of cover up, let's call
I'm not
it.
even trying to attack Donald Trump like I don't like him or Joe Biden. Nothing. If Joe Biden did this, if any, it doesn't matter. Like I said, if one day an independent got elected and they did this, you're covering it up. You're in the files.
I'll leave you with this. The most recent substantial development is that
You're in it.
GOP members have now blocked a Senate resolution to release the files. But the sad, unending truth is that the spiderweb of corruption is so intricate and so large, neither party is innocent, not by a long shot. Epstein was connected at the highest levels of government and financial power across the entire world, even as far as the royal family in England. But for the sake of simplicity, here it is. Epstein was arrested and basically let go in 2005. The man who helped make that happen went on to work in Trump's first term administration. During the end of that term, Epstein was arrested and died, which meant that the primary investigation and buildup all happened under Trump. Trump used to be friends with him, best friends, according to one, a great guy, according to the other, allegedly weighed pardoning his co conspirator, used the same lawyer as Epstein, Alan Dershowitz, who also represented figures like O.J. Simpson and Harvey Weinstein, and he has flatly lied about flying on Epstein's plane. His name appears in Epstein's little black book, which is a contact list, not so much a client list. I talked about that in the first video I did.
Yeah,
But
so
that
like a lot of people get confused about this address list, and they're like, oh, this is a client list, but a lot of people say that the ones in circle are part of the ring. We can speculate, but
little black book only appeared after a man named Alfredo Rodriguez attempted to sell it to the press. One of the things he allegedly also did was to circle the names of people closely connected, the ones who would bring down the empire if they got caught. And Donald Trump's name, which appears with 12 different phone numbers attached to it, is circled. I don't personally believe that there's like a literal physical documented list of who did what, when, and how much. But the same way Wired magazine can find out cell phone tracking data and cross reference that with the names of people who flew to the island, the FBI and the DOJ could certainly pursue the ones that are closely connected to Epstein instead of openly telling the world, just look the other way. At the end of the day, this is a cover up. It's not a hoax. It is not
it's a
boring, not by
cover up.
any stretch, and it certainly isn't going to just disappear because Trump tells the world to forget about it. And that, I think, is what truly, really terrifies him. People that support Trump have a level of blind loyalty that is almost unshakable, emphasis on the word almost, to a point where he bragged about walking down Fifth Avenue, shooting someone, and still enjoying support afterward. But one of the final unimpeachable issues that people still care about is the type of evil that Jeffrey Epstein fully represents, which has turned this case into just a total lightning rod. The Epstein cover-up has rapidly become Trump's nightmare. That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. The video sponsor, of course, locals and Patreon, monthly memberships. That's the best way by far. A special VPN deal, merchandise, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching. Question
yeah,
everything.
like as you guys see now, like this is it's just a mess. So we're gonna see what happens. I really want to hear opinions from people. You could even DM me if you want on Instagram, uh, at ourmodernspirits.com. Not .com. I'm fried. I'm thinking about the website. At ROUR modern MODERN spirits SPIRITS all together. Let me know, DM or like, comment, subscribe, and just let me know right here. With that being said, I hope everybody has a great start to your week. Let's kill it, man. Always focus, never falter. Peace.